Hello and welcome to my guide for the last boss of the game Prototype. This boss is Captain Cross after he's mutated into a Supreme Hunter, similar to one you've already fought before. Okay, straight off the bat you want to be in armor mode. You're going to be taking damage from pretty much everything, left, right and centre. Shield is just going to explode and never come back, so stick with armor. And you don't really need the mobility that you lose when you use armor. I'm using the blade weapon. I found it's the only one that's really effective here. Some people have reported that the claws work quite nicely, but the whip fists just don't do enough power, and the hammer fists are just far too slow. Okay, first thing you want to do is make sure that you keep your health up. You should always be in over health. That's when you get the blue part of your health bar that lets you perform the Devastator criticals. Also, before going into this battle, there are 3 upgrades which you really should have, which are the Adrenaline Rush, the Critical Pain Devastator attack, and also as many generic health and overhealth upgrades as you can find. You'll notice here this boss has its own version of the Devastator attack. In fact, if I pull it back now, I can show you the telegraph of this attack. There you go, you see when he just kind of puts his arms over his body, crouches down, almost looking like he's in pain. Basically, for the most part, you're just letting the military do most of the work for you. Obviously, you're going to need to be able to inflict some damage on the hunter as they're doing minimal, but before we talk about that, I'm going to talk about some of the places where you're going to be taking damage from in this boss fight. Obviously, there's the Supreme Hunter itself. It can throw debris at you if you're at a distance. It's got attacks up close and personal like that one. There are heavy and light attacks. Heavy attacks do considerable damage, but if you can evade them, it leaves an opening where you can attack the hunter. Light attacks usually come in batches of about 2 or 3 and will cause a lot of pain if they all hit. There again you can see the telegraph for the Devastator. I like to use the Whip Fist when he starts using his Devastator to try and grab a Marine before he kills them. It's a great way to actually feed without the risk of the hunter hitting you. Also, try to keep locked onto him wherever you can. That way you can keep an eye on what he's doing. It's a lot easier to grab enemies when you can lock onto them, but if you don't lock onto the hunter, you can't see what he's doing, and there's no point in eating Marine if all the health gets taken away a few moments later. So long as you've got your armour up, the biggest threat is the hunter. Everything else will do minimal damage. That said, the fighters and helicopters overhead can cause you to fall over when they hit you with their missiles. This can lead to more damage as the hunter hits you whilst you're defenceless. Had a close call there. As for the helicopters, hijacking them can work, but you'll get shot down by the aircraft carrier's Zeus systems very, very quickly. You can do some damage in the meantime, so it might be worth giving it a try, but generally I don't bother. Now, as for inflicting damage on the hunter, simply run up to him and use your Critical Pain Devastator. There we go again with a telegraph. Use the Critical Pain Devastator wherever you can in order to inflict large amounts of damage on him. If you use regular attacks, you'll get very, very little damage. However, chaining together several of them can lead to him being stunned. Also, this works if you throw objects at him too. When he's stunned, you can run up to him, grab him, and then deal a massive amount of damage, well, comparatively massive amount of damage to him. You don't see this until the second part of the boss fight in this video, as I'm playing it fairly cautiously. Here we go, using the Critical Pain Devastator. You can see very little damage. Whilst you're performing the Devastator, sometimes you're invincible, sometimes you're not. It's a very hit and miss thing. That's why I'd always recommend that you have full blue health. Once the hunter gets to about half health, you really need to pay extra attention to that blue section of your life bar. Keep that as full or as close to full as you can, because if you can't get off at least 2 Devastator attacks in the second part of this boss fight, you're probably not going to succeed. You see here the hunter has his own version of ground spike attack. The only way you can avoid that is by jumping up high. So remember that when you see him leap, bring his hand into the air and then down into the ground, jump up high, charge up, you jump and then jump. Okay, here we go, the second part. You need to deal a massive amount of damage in a very short period of time. Use your Critical Pain Devastators. Hit him normally to stun him as well. The other reason why I said you should have the Adrenaline Rush at the start of this walkthrough is you get a free Devastator attack if you're nearly dead. And I do believe I end up using that in this one. That will give you your second Devastator, so if like me there you can only get one off, don't panic, you should still be able to do it so long as you've got that attack. Okay, see here, he's using his own Devastator, that's especially annoying here. Resist the urge to run in whilst it's still up. Sometimes you can get through like I did there, and you can inflict some damage on him before he can respond. Sometimes, not so lucky. It's not worth risking it unless you've got the adrenaline rush, at which point you might be able to use the critical pain Devastator.
Throw that back.
I love that line. Okay, that's the all of it. Hopefully through watching the video you'll be able to have seen some of my tactics, and through the commentary picked up a few ideas of your own. Subscribe for more walkthroughs.